Hello, and welcome to episode 6 of Beyond the Mist, the game mastering podcast for the Mistworld series. Now, my name is Dan, I'm the storyteller, and just want to talk about what I'm preparing for the upcoming episode. Now, at this point, our players have reached the dragon killing ballista. They're about to try and exit this ziggurat with it in order to free themselves and continue on their mission to eventually take down a dragon. So, overall, what I want for the players to do: escape with the ballista, rendezvous with the Hope and Grace at a clockwork city where they'll be able to do repairs and upgrades on both their ships, and proceed from there. Now, my plan is that at this point they've been pretty much alone inside the ziggurat. They had created enough of a distraction that all the enemy soldiers left the ziggurat to try and attack the shiny beetle, but now there'll be a group heading back inside in order to retrieve the ballista and use that as a way of defending themselves against the ongoing attack from Neely and Darling the spider robot. To do that, I'm planning on having one high priest type character, as well as a mix of guards helping them. Now, I had this image in my head of one of the reasons why people might want to worship dragons is because they can eventually turn into them, and so this high priest will have some kind of dragon scales and magical abilities that will show that partial transformation. In the Tiny Dungeon 2e book, there is a necromancer enemy that's provided stats for, but I'm not willing to be able to raise the dead. Instead, I'm going to give them some of the high mage powers that will reflect this draconic ability rather than a control over the undead. In effect, the rules allow for some prestige magic that my players haven't really taken advantage of, but I'll allow for that. For this one, there is one called Ruby Magic, which provides the innate properties of fire, volcanoes, mystic birds. That sounds dragony to me, but what it does is it lets them be able to set things on fire, blow everything up around them, and taking damage themselves to do so, or to put out any fires should it start to cause any damage to something they actually care about. This feels particularly dragony for me, so I'm going to, instead of giving the cultish priest the necromancy power, she's going to have ruby magic. I'm also going to give them half a dozen soldiers. Fairly simple. This is going to be fodders, just to give her a meat shield to hide behind, and as well as soldiers who will try and retrieve the ballista. Now, in order to do that, I mentioned last time, the ballista has a little sack attached to it. It's a bag of holding that the players haven't realized at this point. So if the players let the soldiers get a hold of this, they will be able to take the sack off, put it up, and then run out, and then release the ballista on the shiny beetle. Now, there are again a few enemies inside Tiny Dungeon 2e that can approximate a guard. I'm just thinking I'm going to treat them like just fodder, possibly. Or there's a town guard, but that only has 1 HP. I kind of want to give it 2, because otherwise they'll just burn through these guys in a couple of rounds. So they're going to have 2 HP. They're going to potentially have the cleave edge, which doesn't really come up much against players, but basically what that does is if they manage to kill something, they'll get an extra swing. And they're also going to be armed with spears, so they can be used as melee or potentially thrown weapons, and will be able to coordinate themselves that way. So there's half a dozen guards, and the cultish priest will enter. 2 of the guards will use a teleport ability to appear behind the players and try and retrieve the ballista, while everyone else holds the players in place long enough for the shining beetle to be taken out. If that happens, they are going to be in big trouble, but I feel like the shiny beetle deserves some plot armor. It's been through a lot. Now, once that's done, they'll be able to escape. Depending on how long that takes, I plan on having a prepared traveling encounter for them to come across on their way out to the next stop. If they communicate with the Hope and Grace, they'll be told to meet at what's called a clockwork city, basically a place where the Hope and Grace can outfit itself in preparation for the oncoming battle, and the Shining Beetle will also be able to stop by for repairs, etc. In terms of that midway encounter, only throw this out if they run out of time, but basically my idea is that they're going to have some kind of hunting ship that's in trouble, that's floating, drifting aimlessly, and requires help, will require quite a bit of help in order to get going again under its own power. So it'll be up to the players if they choose to stop, provide that help, if they choose to tow, but either way it'll be a substantial delay. And while there won't be any visible penalties for this, it might mean that when they encounter the final battle, the dragon will have had more time to prepare, and they'll have additional defenses to have to deal with. If, however, they go back to their be a bit more mercenary and decide, no, let them free, they're not our problem, we don't know these people, well then the dragon won't have the time required to add in those extra repairs. Now, I haven't created a name for this Clockwork City yet, so what I thought I would do is I would go to my old friend Dungeon, pull up one of those random generators, and see what it has for me. I'm just loading that up now. So we've got a fantasy name generator. Clicking on that, I am looking for if you go to the random generator on the fantasy, it tends to be a bit more open. It's asking me for towns and cities, so I'll open that up. And what's good about this random generator is it provides not just a random name, but also population, suggested races, and a few extra things that are on board there. So what I'm looking at is just something that sounds potentially clockworky and able to help. So right off the bat, it's giving me the name Homiscali, population 1,800, mostly dwarf but other races as well, and it's got many forges and its sky is filled with black smoke. Automatically, even though it's completely random, this has given me exactly what I was considering for this particular episode. So, cut and paste. So the players will reach this point, they'll have a rest, they'll have a chance to level up and add other traits as well, and potentially start doing a bit of RP before we then go on to the next episode after that. Pretty simple episode because there isn't going to be much randomized. There isn't much in terms of potential changes. The only other thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to create a list of NPCs. I've got a list of 10 from Good Old Dungeon. Don't plan on using all 10, but basically, again, I think I mentioned this last time, I like having a list of NPCs just in case my players decide that they want to talk to some people and I'm not left randomly scrambling for a name and instead have a decent selection to be able to choose from. So yes, I've got 10 names, copying those into my notes as well. And should the players go for a walk and start chatting up people, they'll be there. That's about it. I hope you guys got something out of this episode. Fairly quick one tonight. But I will talk to you all soon. Have a good night.